I've been testing out the new LR Baggs HiFi pickup now for a few weeks. So I thought I would share some more audio examples and my thoughts and experience with this pickup now that I've had some time to play with it. This is what it sounds like direct. I've got the tone wheel at about 75% or somewhere in the middle of sort of that center detent and all the way to the brightest setting. So the short version is, I think it's a good pickup. It's really easy to install, it's relatively affordable, and it sounds good. And in a live setting with a little EQ into a PA, it can sound really good. There's that volume and tone control, and the tone allows you to kind of dial in whatever sound you want, a darker sound, a brighter tone. I found that anything below that center detent to be a little bit muddy, a little bit muffled for my taste, and maybe in this guitar. And I found that all the way to 100% is just a little too bright for me. Although I do think in a full band setting, I could probably just turn it to 100 and it would work pretty well. I really like the change in timbre, in clarity that the tone wheel brings to those low strings when it's increased up to 75% and up. Once you get to that point on this guitar, the lower notes just tighten up in a way that I like. But with this increase, you also get a overall brighter sound, and the high notes tend to be a little louder than I want them to be. So in a perfect world, I would have sort of the tone at about 75 to 80% for the lower strings and more in like the 50 to 60% range for the higher strings. And that's kind of partly what I have done with an outboard EQ pedal when I've played this live. By the way, every single pickup benefits from EQ. It is not cheating to use EQ. It is good. It is normal. You should be using EQ. If you play in settings where the sound engineer is more or less just turning the volume up or down, you really should be using EQ. Seriously, the most important and impactful pedal on my small acoustic pedal board in settings without skilled sound engineers is my EQ pedal. So I want to play you that same exact recording I played earlier, but with some EQ applied that I've been using live. I used my Source Audio EQ2 pedal, which is an absolutely brilliant pedal, by the way, to record both the pickup flat and with an EQ curve that I created on the Source Audio desktop editor that I have loaded into that pedal. The EQ2 has 2 ins and 2 outs and gives you some different routing options. So I plug the guitar into input 1, and then I can split the signal so I can assign different curves to each output. So for output 1, I left it completely flat, and output 2 has that EQ curve that I created applied to it. And this allowed me to record one quick take and be able to show you the difference between that pickup completely flat and with a little bit of EQ. Check it out. So for me, that makes a really big improvement. I can definitely hear the differences in this direct recording, but live, it makes an even bigger difference. I'm not making any drastic EQ adjustments. I'm not really trying to alter the overall tone of the pickup or EQ for a room. I'm just trying to clean up the pickup signal a little bit. So I tightened up the low end a little bit. I got rid of some frequencies that tend to ring with this guitar. And because I like the tone wheel at about 75 to 80 to make those lower notes a little crispier, but I don't necessarily like the volume increase of the high end, I shelved the high end just a little bit to bring it back into what I think is a good balance. So I want to play that again, and I'll kind of chop it up. I'll go back and forth between the two, and I think in that case you'll be able to clearly hear the difference between what a little bit of EQ can do for this pickup. One of the common problems with bridge plate mounted pickups or soundboard transducers is that they can be prone to feedback. Now, Baggs has claimed that the HiFi is as feedback resistant as their undersaddle element pickup. My experience is that with no EQ, the HiFi does feedback just ever so slightly easier than the element, and I'm not really all that surprised because it has a lot more low end, so it's sort of normal, natural that it's gonna be a little easier to feedback. And interestingly, this guitar that I put the HiFi in, it's a smaller body guitar, and it has the least amount of low end by quite a bit compared to my other guitars. So I am curious, I do wonder what it would be like in a guitar with more bass. I'm curious if I would have increased feedback issues or not, but that's another test for another time. And once I EQ'd it to tighten up that bottom end a little bit, I found it to be just as stable as the element. And in fact, I can even EQ it in a way that has a lot more bottom end than the element and just as feedback resistant. And to demonstrate the low end of the pickup versus the actual low end of this guitar, I recorded a small clip with the mic and the pickup at the same time to show you that the pickup definitely is projecting more low end than the actual guitar has. And I kind of like this live. It just gives you a much bigger, fuller sound, which is great. Full disclosure, the pickup example in this case does have that source audio EQ curve on it. Okay, so not only can you hear the bass difference, but you can also hear that the HiFi is definitely not a mic. It's got that pickup note separation, immediacy, punchiness that I personally think works really well in a live setting. It doesn't sound so great recorded, but live it can really be a nice tone. And I find it way more natural sounding and way more pleasing than an undersaddle pickup. Although they share some traits, I think the HiFi is just much more natural, much softer, just a better sound. So my final thoughts on the LR Baggs HiFi pickup. I think it's really strong. I think it's a solid pickup. I think it's a solid choice. I like it, and depending on what somebody wants in a pickup, I would have no problem recommending it. The installation is really simple and quick. They include an installation jig, which is really nice. And because it's mounted using tape, you can try it out and it will have no lasting impact on your guitar should you decide to remove it. And for me, I really like that. I like that it's not going to alter my guitar. I like that I'm not going to have to do a lot of work if I decide to go in a different direction or want to sell a guitar with that in it and put it in a different guitar. It's just nice knowing that it's easy to remove and easy to install. So there you go, the LR Baggs HiFi. One more option, one more flavor to choose from when choosing an acoustic guitar pickup. All right, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. I hope this information is helpful in helping you decide whether or not you want to give this pickup a try. If you like what you're playing already, just stick with it. If you're kind of looking for something new, give it a try. You never know. All right. Cheers.